Welcome to the Beyond Press channel. Today we are going to make a very special pressing tool out of this clear PMMA plastic. And sorry about the focus, it's only on the beginning of the video this bore. And first thing, when you are machining plastic, it's really slippery usually when compared to steel, so you have to be sure that it stays on the machine. And then another part is the plastic shavings. If you leave those on the machine and get mixed to the metal shavings and then you continue with the metal, it's going to smell like shit because the plastic is like melting and almost burning. So clean your machine before and after plastic, so then you don't have the plastic and metal shavings mix that is not very good. And the idea with this pressing tool is to make like cylinder that is clear so you can see stuff crushing inside of that, and then make small hole on the bottom, so then we can like extrude some materials with the press, for example fruits. And now I'm going to start making the hole for the like cylinder part. And cylinder is just like big block of plastic with the hole that doesn't go all the way through, and it should have like a flat bottom to take the pressure of the tool when it hits there. And first I start with just regular drills to make like start for the hole, and then continue with lathe to like turn the rest of the hole. And probably I could go with this largest hole straight to the plastic, but because I wasn't sure about the properties of the plastic, I went a bit more careful using 3 drills. So each drill takes a little bit more material than the last one. And after all that drilling, I was hoping to test my polishing method. You can polish things with like sandpaper and just grinding them until they are very smooth, but because we have quite deep hole, that would be very difficult, and it is usually a lot of work anyways. So I decided to try with the gas torch, because I found from internet that people have quite good results with gas torch and plastic polishing. So at this moment I have very bad surface quality on the hole, but I tried anyways, and even with that poor surface it gives quite promising result. So I decided that the gas torch is good enough polishing tool for this project, and then I started to turn the piece with the like real tool to get better surface quality, and then test the gas torch again would we get good enough polishing result. And as you can see, it takes some time, but it clearly starts to polish quite fast. And there's funny optical illusion on the piece. It's a bit like magnifying glass. The hole looks much bigger than it really is, because now it's about maybe 60 millimeters and the whole part is around 150 or something like that, if I remember correctly. But it looked much bigger through the piece than from the like side where you can see the hole. And at this moment I was pleased with the gas torch, so I decided to remove the excess material from the hole to get like close to final diameter. And then because I was machining removing quite much material and have been using the gas torch, the plastic was quite warm, so I decided to make it almost ready on this day and then wait over the night to get the thing cooled down. I I wouldn't like to use the coolant because I was not sure what the coolant would do for the plastic, so I wouldn't risk that. So I just made it almost through and almost to finished diameter and waited it for the cool down. And as you can see, first I was going quite slowly and careful with this turning part. That was because the tool was almost as big as the hole, so the shavings tend to like clump inside of the hole, and I was worried that the shavings are going to start melting because the friction and the heat, and then it would like got jammed and the part would fly out of the machine. So I was careful until I had enough clearance to shavings to like spin around, as you can see now. And the surface quality was quite good. I had very sharp tool, and I decided to do one more polishing test to be sure that this is going to work. And yeah, it works, as you can see. And now we have only one cut to make, and before that I measured the thing to know how much I should remove. And I am using my 3-point micrometer. It's really good tool when you have deep holes like this. And it's important to measure the whole thing, not just from the like beginning of the hole, because it might be different on the another end of the hole. Especially when you are working strange materials like this. And it is important to have like the second to last cut and the last cut exactly the same, because the amount of you are removing and the feed and everything affects to how much it's gonna take away. So if you like take 5 millimeters away and then measure, and I have 1 millimeter to go, and then you take just one, it's probably not going to be what you want because the conditions were different. The tools are flexing and the material behaves differently. But here we go with the last shaving, and it was really fun to see what you are doing, because usually you cannot see shit. You just see the numbers changing on your digitals and nothing else. But now you can actually see what is happening inside of that piece, so that was different. And because my plan is to like punch all the way to down, there has to be some surface that is going to take the force of the machine. And if you just machine the diameter of the part, the like end surface isn't going to be that smooth. So I leave usually about 0.5 millimeter on the like bottom surface, and then cut it from like inside out. That I'm now doing. The tool is moving outside from the center of the hole towards the outside. So now the like bottom surface is smooth and level, so I can press against that. And then to make easier to insert the piston inside of the cylinder, I round up the edge of the hole, and it's a bit tricky with manual lathe, because on CNC you can just program that make like round, for example with diameter of 10 millimeters round thing there. But with manual thing you have to like put the feed on and then use your hand to like estimate how much that another axis should move and turn the lever according to that. And I think I was able to make quite good rounding on the edge, and it worked really well on the practice. And now the machining part of the cylinder is ready, and it's time to polish the thing up. I removed the plastic shavings to avoid any fire, and I was using first just one gas torch, and it was a bit tricky to get the end of the hole also polished, so I bring it another one also, and with two of those I was able to polish that quite well. And after I was polished the cylinder surface, I started to make that small hole which is going to able the things get out from the cylinder. So my plan was to go a bit deeper, as you can see right now, with the small diameter, and then meet that hole from the side with the long drill on the milling machine. And it would be possible to make this hole with just drill press, but I don't really like to use drill press that much, because I have usually this big vise on my milling machine already attached, and usually even more part holding devices ready. So it's really easy to mount something to milling machine in my case, and then I don't have to measure it by hand. I can use the this touch clock on milling machine and zero the thing in, and then just program it to make hole in the right place. And I'm a bit perfectionist with the hole placement usually, so if I made it by my hand, there's quite a lot of effort to make it really precise, and I tend to use too much time on it. So with the milling machine it's much safer. You have the part really well attached, and you don't have to be anywhere near when you are drilling, because I think that if you are near lathe when it's turning, that isn't that bad, because there is usually really tiny shavings, but with drill you can get really long shavings when drilling metal, and those shavings tend to spin all around, and they might cut you or even suck you into the machine, so that's not ideal. So whenever I can avoid that, I'm using the milling machine. And now we are going to start the drilling part, and I was a bit lazy and didn't program the machine to do start hole with center drill, so I was using straight from just the regular drill, and this was also quite long. I was thinking about that because the plastic is so soft it might not need that start hole, but I was a bit wrong. It curved about maybe 5 millimeters when it's going down, and because of that I had to make the small hole on bottom of the large hole a bit bigger to make them meet nicely. And after that the part was ready, and I wanted to test with the piston, is the hole right sized. And I wouldn't do this before I got the hole in the bottom, because when I push that in and the sealants are dry, it's quite hard to get it out. But when I have the hole in the bottom, I can add some pressurized air through that, and then it will act like pneumatic cylinder and push the piston out of the thing like that. Yeah, but that was how to make see-through extruder cylinder for your hydraulic press, and I'm going to use this for to make some fluid smoothies or maybe extrude some Play-Doh, and I think I can think quite many things where I can use this. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.